You believe every child over the age of 6 months should have a COVID vaccine at least annually?
I believe that is a discussion that a parent needs to have with their pediatrician. And if it is right for that child, based on the risk, then that child should have the opportunity to get the vaccine.
If there's reports come out that show that indeed the COVID vaccination led to the death of children, would that influence your advice?
Certainly would want to know about that.
So you agree that you support every child needs every vaccine that's on the CDC recommendations, all 70 to 80 jabs?
The childhood vaccine schedule has been vetted and validated through science and evidence. The almost 20 different diseases that are mitigated through those vaccines are very important. I think that every parent should have the opportunity to talk to their pediatrician and make sure that they understand the benefits and the risks of those vaccines and what is in the best interest of their children.
Would you agree with me, though, at this point in time, that you're not the right person for this job?
So I will stand behind scientific integrity with every decision I ever make.
Dr. Marshall.
Dr. Monarez, despite the president's executive order, did you encourage people to work remotely ever?
I did not encourage people to work remotely.
Okay. There were allegations that you took some of the political appointees and you basically took them out of your orbit, out of your office area. Did you reassign office location, desk location for the political appointees?
So I do want to go back to your first question. After the shooting, I allowed staff to work remotely.
Okay, you can give us the details of that later. The second question, did you push political appointees out of your main office area, reassign the political appointees seating?
I brought some political appointees in.
My question is, did you move some out?
So there's a limited number of offices in my.
Did you, I guess a yes or no, did you move political appointees out of your main orbit?
And I brought other political appointees in.
Okay, you can give us the details of that later. Do you believe every child over the age of 6 months should have a COVID vaccine at least annually?
I believe that is a discussion that a parent needs to have with their pediatrician. And if it is right for that child, based on the risk, then that child should have the opportunity to get the vaccine.
If there's reports come out that show that indeed the COVID vaccination led to the death of children, would that influence your advice?
Certainly would want to know about that.
Okay, the CDC currently recommends between 70 and 80 shots over the child's lifetime. Do you fully support that recommendation that every child needs every vaccine as recommended by the CDC?
The data associated with those recommendations has been validated and vetted. That is the current schedule.
So you agree that you support every child needs every vaccine that's on the CDC recommendations, all 70 to 80 jabs?
The childhood vaccine schedule has been vetted and validated through science and evidence. The almost 20 different diseases that are mitigated through those vaccines are very important. I think that every parent should have the opportunity to talk to their pediatrician and make sure that they understand the benefits and the risks of those vaccines and what is in the best interest of their children.
Do you believe any or all of those should be mandated?
CDC does not mandate vaccines. What CDC does is provide the evidence associated with the recommendations so that a parent and a physician can make the best determination for them.
When you were considering this job as CDC Director, was there ever any doubt in your mind that you could fulfill the mission to work with Secretary Kennedy?
There wasn't. I have worked for political appointees and politicians for almost 20 years. And my experience has been when it comes to critical and important issues like science and medicine, data has always been paramount, and it has always been the core driver to how we work together.
Would you agree with me, though, at this point in time, that you're not the right person for this job, that your belief system, thinking that every child needs every vaccine, which is what your CDC does, every child needs every vaccine, all 70 to 80 of them, is certainly a different mindset than Secretary Kennedy's. And that if the university president, I think a great sports analogy, I hate to do this, but the university president and the athletic director decide you're not the right coach for this team, then it's probably time to say goodbye and we need a new coach. Would you agree that certainly you're going in a different direction philosophically than Secretary Kennedy is?
So I will stand behind scientific integrity with every decision I ever make. If I am put in a position of having to say, I will cede scientific integrity to retain my job, then I am not the right person for the position. I believe that we must have science
But
and evidence to
thanks.
support the best decisions for our children and others who would benefit from vaccines.
So I think here's the biggest difference in philosophy that I see, is that I think the CDC is the cause of vaccine hesitancy, that you are the problem, that because of COVID and you're forcing these vaccines on people that weren't ever really proven or justified, that the benefits didn't outweigh the risk, and you all sat there with your hands in your pockets and you let that happen. And then you let this hepatitis vaccine be at 1 day of age, be forced upon everybody. And all of a sudden, the moms and the grandmas never trust you because you're trying to force a vaccine that's not necessary at day one. If you're going into nursing school, medical school, absolutely, you should consider that hepatitis vaccine. But basically what the CDC does is act like a mandate. And you force doctors that don't agree with you to kick patients out of their clinics because they don't want their child to be exposed to a vaccine that was approved after just like 140 patients took it, being followed up for 5 days. It just makes no sense to me that every person needs every vaccine. But regardless, some of the vaccines have done incredible work. They are a miracle. They've done a great job. The basic vaccines that we got in the 60s and 70s, polio, MMR, DTaP, those seem to be great vaccines that have told the test of time. But your attitude here that every person needs every vaccine is completely contrary to Secretary Kennedy's philosophy and the mission of the president. Thank you.
What unfolded between Senator Roger Marshall and Dr. Monarez was more than just a pointed questioning session. It was a reflection of the growing divide in America over science, trust, and the politicization of public health. The tone, the framing, and even the assumptions embedded in Marshall's questions reveal a troubling shift in how facts are now treated, not as neutral guides to policy, but as political battlegrounds. Senator Marshall began his questioning with what looked like administrative curiosity, asking about office relocations and remote work, but quickly pivoted into a familiar ideological attack zone: vaccines. He pressed Dr. Monarez on whether she believed every child over 6 months should receive a COVID vaccine, whether she supported the CDC's full vaccination schedule, and whether she believed any vaccines should be mandated. At first glance, these questions might seem reasonable, but look closer and you'll see what's really happening. Marshall was framing scientific consensus as a personal bias. Instead of acknowledging that vaccine recommendations come from decades of peer-reviewed research and data-driven evaluation by independent experts, he presented them as the product of belief systems, as though supporting immunization were a matter of ideology rather than evidence. Dr. Monarez's responses stood in stark contrast to Marshall's tone. Her answers were measured, grounded, and humane. She emphasized conversation, not coercion, that parents should talk to their pediatricians, that choices should be informed by risk, and that science should remain the compass guiding those discussions. She didn't speak as a bureaucrat. She spoke as a scientist and a public servant who understands the delicate balance between individual choice and public safety. And yet, Marshall persisted, casting doubt not only on vaccines, but on the institution of the CDC itself. He claimed that the CDC, the agency responsible for eradicating smallpox, containing Ebola, and saving millions through immunization, had become the cause of vaccine hesitancy. That statement alone shows the extent to which political rhetoric has overtaken rational discourse. Vaccine hesitancy didn't rise because of the CDC's guidance. It rose because of coordinated misinformation campaigns, social media amplification of false claims, and politicians who found political profit in sowing doubt. Marshall's language was steeped in the populist style of grievance politics. You force vaccines on people. You're the problem. Moms and grandmas don't trust you. It's the same emotional framing used repeatedly to turn scientific institutions into cultural villains. The irony is that the very trust he claims was destroyed by science is being eroded not by the scientists, but by those who attack them for doing their jobs. When Dr. Monarez responded, "If I have to sacrifice scientific integrity to keep my job, I am not the right person for this position," that was the moment the whole exchange crystallized. It wasn't just a statement of professional ethics, it was an act of moral clarity. She made it clear that evidence, not ideology, would guide her leadership. In that one sentence, she drew a line between those who govern with facts and those who govern with fear. It's important to understand how dangerous this erosion of trust in science can be. When leaders in positions of power cast doubt on vaccines, it doesn't just influence policy, it influences behavior. It shapes what parents decide for their children, what communities believe about safety, and how public health crises unfold. The long-term damage of politicizing vaccines isn't just skepticism, it's preventable illness, resurgence of diseases once eradicated, and loss of life. Senator Marshall tried to frame Dr. Monarez as incompatible with the administration, arguing that her adherence to scientific standards was at odds with Secretary Kennedy's philosophy. But that, in itself, is deeply revealing. Science is not a philosophy. It is a method, one that tests, questions, verifies, and adapts. A government that treats scientific rigor as a matter of belief is a government that endangers its citizens. Democrats, by contrast, have been consistent in their message: science isn't partisan. Whether it's climate change, vaccines, or reproductive health, evidence must remain the foundation of policy. Dr. Monarez's composure and her insistence on data-driven decision-making underscore what real leadership looks like, the kind that protects people, not politics. This hearing was a snapshot of a broader struggle between evidence and ideology, between those who weaponize uncertainty and those who work to clarify it. It showed us that the war on science isn't about facts being wrong, it's about facts being inconvenient to power. So here's what viewers should take away. Every time science is undermined for political theater, we all lose.